Well, what's up, Tiger fans, and welcome into a brand new edition of the Babin on the Bayou Show, an exciting Monday afternoon, Monday, March 23rd, 2026 edition of the Babin on the Bayou Show. I'm your host, as always, Justin Babin Jr. We are not going to talk LSU baseball today. Going to save that for later in the week, probably on Wednesday. Not going to have a show tomorrow. I'll probably do baseball recap on Wednesday, talk about that series that we had. The series that was LSU versus Oklahoma, but spring football is tomorrow. LSU spring practice is tomorrow, baby. What else did you think we were going to talk about today?
Yes.
So, and I'm excited, not only because spring football is tomorrow, not only are we talking football for the first time in like 2 weeks on this show, bringing on my guy, AP, the host of Timeouts and Tangents. Folks, if you're not locked into Timeouts and Tangents, if you're not subscribed, if you're not keeping up, what are you doing? You got to keep up with my guy AP from Timeouts and Tangents. So excited to have him on the show to talk some LSU football, talk some spring practice, talk everything LSU football today. How are you doing, my friend?
Man, Justin, I'm here with you. Like I'm doing great, man. I'm here with you. Got on my purple and gold, my Bayou Bengals, you know what I'm saying? I'm repping the squad. It's pro day right now. The boys were balling out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got spring practice starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, what a time. What a great time to be alive. Let me just say this real quick. Caveat here. Brian Kelly, we will never forgive you. The display of athleticism that was being showcased this morning.
I'm finding a tweet, so keep going.
No, you're good. In Baton Rouge, on LSU's campus specifically, at the indoor practice facility for all NFL scouts and teams to watch, was so amazing that all it could make me do was be disappointed in how this season went.
Yeah.
Because we had all the talent.
A tweet I saw earlier today from JD Piquel of On 3. He said, trying to think of a tweet about how ridiculous it is that LSU won 7 games last year.
Yes.
I saw that tweet and I was like, that's the truth. Is it not? How crazy is it that team only won 7 games?
So disappointing. You're going to have so many players off of this team drafted. May not be first round, second round draft picks, but you had pro players in this draft. And we fumbled the bag, Brian Kelly. But even with you fumbling this amazing roster, I will tell Texas A&M yet again, thank you. Thank you for putting what you thought was dirt on our grave, and it was really just fuel to the fire that delivered us the Phoenix from the ashes in Lane Kiffin. Thank you.
Thank you, folks in the chat. Goose Sports, what's up? What's up, Paul? What's up, Paul? How are you doing, my friend? My guy, Paul Jarrett, joining the show. I'll run through a few stats if AP wants to, and we're going to get to spring practice soon. Just wanted to run through a few of these things. Mansour Delane runs a 4.35 40. 4.35 40 for Mansour Delane. I have a 4.38 for Harold Perkins, also in the 40. I have a 35-inch vertical jump for Harold Perkins, a 38-inch vertical jump for Chris Hilton, 28-inch vertical jump for Aaron Anderson. Those are a few of the numbers I had. The guy that stands out, Nuss looked pretty good. Like Nuss looked good in the film and the video that I saw, but like Mansour Delane with the freaking 4.38. I mean, or 4.35, excuse me. Harold Perkins had the 4.38, 4.35 for Mansour Delane. I mean, what can you say about these guys?
And shout out to Wes Weeks too for running a 4.46. Let me just compare these numbers really quickly. Caleb Downs is slated to go in the top 10, right? He was your Jim Thorpe Award winner. He measured in at 6 feet, 5'11", 6 feet, 206 pounds. He ran a 4.5 40 at the combine.
What?
And he won the Thorpe. Harold Perkins is slated to go 4th, 5th round. He measured in at 6'5'8", 220 pounds, and ran a 4.38 40-yard dash.
It's insane. It's insane.
I will never forgive you, Brian Kelly.
I won't either. I will say I don't cover. This is an LSU show. Babin on the Bayou is an LSU show. I am a Saints fan. I don't know as much about the Saints, ins and outs of the Saints as you do.
The Saints.
I love the Saints, but I don't talk about them because, quite frankly, I don't know the ins and outs of the Saints like other people do. So I'm gonna leave that to other people.
And I can tell you right now, at pick 8, don't be surprised if Mansour Delane's not moving too far from home.
That's what I was asking you. I was gonna ask you the chances of Delane at 8. The chances of
very, very high. So I'll put it to you like this: there's some dominoes that need to fall, and I'm gonna put it to you like this: after his performance today, there are probably 2 players on their board that are higher than him, and it's probably Jeremiah Love, who we all are expecting to go top 5, Caleb Downs, and then Mansour Delane. And
go
ahead, Justin.
Where is Harold Perkins projected right now?
He's projected to be a day 3 pick, so that's rounds 4 or later.
Yeah.
And I think after his pro day today, he might slide into the back of round 3. I wouldn't be surprised because you're talking about a 3-year starter or 4-year starter, started as a true freshman. Was leading the team in sacks, a rangy athlete who can line up on the line of scrimmage, who can line up off ball as a linebacker, but mainly can play out in the slot as a nickel star linebacker. He can blitz, he can cover pretty solid. He's not the best at covering, but he's definitely not the worst at covering either. So when you take all those things into consideration, his size, his strength, his athleticism, his speed to cover sideline to sideline, his ability to blitz and spy athletic quarterbacks, which the league is really going towards now, defenses will find a role for a guy like Harold Perkins. I don't think he will move to a free safety, Paul. That's too far off the ball for a guy like him. You want him more closer to the line of scrimmage. I think that star package that teams are rolling with when they're having a 4-man front with 2 linebackers and mainly 5 DBs is what they call it. That's where you'll see Harold Perkins shine. He will have to cover within the box sometimes, tight ends. If you get a matchup with him on a slot receiver, I think that's when a defensive coordinator will stunt him, will send him on a backside blitz if he gets that lineup. He will be a better pro than he will be a college player because we failed him in using his athletic gifts for what they were needed for at LSU. We were trying to focus on what he's going to be at the pros when we shouldn't have been concerned with that. We should have just let a ball player go play ball. That's my tangent.
All right. Let's get into we talked about obviously Nuss, Delane, Chris Hilton, Aaron Anderson, Harold Perkins, all the other guys. We wish them nothing but the best, and we want all success in the world. They were really failed by this coaching staff. The coaching staff under Brian Kelly really just failed them and failed this team. I don't want to talk about the past. I've talked about the past a lot on my show. I want to talk about the future.
Yes.
I want to talk about Lane Kiffin, and I want to talk about this roster. I want to talk about spring practice, what we're looking at. We can go narrow eventually. I do have some questions about certain position groups. Want to get your takes on them. Going to go about 50 minutes in this show today, folks, and we'll cover a lot. Get your questions in the chat. We would love to interact with all of you guys. But I want to start broad and give you the floor and give you a chance to just kind of give your overview and the overview of your thoughts. You can touch on, it's really up to you, the direction you want to go in. You can touch on the crazy past couple of months that's been at LSU since Lane Kiffin joined as the head coach. You could talk about also, we're going to get into what we're looking at what we're expecting going into the spring. But I just want to kind of start broad and give you the floor to give some of your
10
thoughts.
10,000 for view. It's terrible if you're a fan of any other school right now. Because the one brand, the one program that you didn't want to have a guy as cocky, confident, and creative as the head coach has just become the head coach for that brand. LSU as a state, as a program, Louisiana as a state, is one of the pettiest places on the face of the planet. When we're good, we're going to rub your face in it. We're going to feed you. We're going to let you know we're good. We're going to give you something to drink, but we're going to let you know that we're good. And now we have a coach who's going to do the exact same thing. You don't have to question what side of the ball he's going to be on. You don't have to wonder about what type of game plan he's going to have. You don't have to worry about whether or not things are going to be developed properly. And the last few months have been absolutely breathtaking because the speed at which and for two reasons, and the speed at which everything came together. Because at one point we fired Brian Kelly, and it's like, where the hell are we going to go? Nobody anticipated Lane Kiffin coming, especially after the governor made the comments that he made, and Florida was in hot pursuit, and they thought they had him, and then Ole Miss was on the playoff run, and no way he'd leave. Well, guess what? Everybody was proved wrong. Here we are. Lane Kiffin becomes your coach, and he set out from the opening presser that the portal was going to be different because he was at LSU. And everybody knew what he could do in the portal at Ole Miss. And he came out and said exactly what he was going to do in the portal at LSU. He overhauled an entire football roster in a 3-week period like I have never seen before.
Over 40 plus transfer
40 plus. And it's not even just the amount. It wasn't just quantity. It was quality as well. You have 2 of the top 10 quarterbacks that were in this portal class at your school. You have a third who was in the top 20 that a bunch of major D1 programs wanted. You were able to haul in the best edge rusher, the best tackle, and probably, to me, the best wide receiver room out of the portal that a school could have put together. Absolutely.
All right. So here's my overview of thoughts before we get into the roster. And we can touch on the coaching staff as well, because the coaching staff he assembled, we can get into that as well.
Elite.
My view of this is LSU in general, but especially LSU football, has a distinct culture. It has a distinct culture. And, the golden age that was built by Nick Saban and carried on, even though I was not the biggest Les Miles fan, I was a big Coach O fan, and I always loved Coach O, even though the last few years weren't great under him. 2019, I will always love Coach O for bringing Joe, Jamar, Justin, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, all of those guys here. Best college football team in history. Yeah, bringing all of those guys there. But LSU has a distinct culture. You think about, I think about DBU. When I think about LSU, I think about that. I think about the defense. I think about Leonard Fournette. I think about, Jeremy Hill. I think about all the receivers you've had with, Jefferson, Chase, Beckham, Landry. Like I think about the culture of LSU. BK never understood that. He never understood the culture of LSU. In my opinion, he thought he was a Northern guy and that he was going to be able to bring what worked at Cincinnati and at Notre Dame down to the Bayou, and it was going to be able to translate, and it was not. You could talk about so many different decisions that he did wrong. Corey Raymond is the biggest one for me. We don't have to get into all of that right now. I don't want to get into the past and all of that right now. But the culture took a hit with Brian Kelly because I feel like he never understood it. Like one of the first time he appears to the LSU fan base, he's making a fake Southern accent and looking stupid. And everybody's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why?
Right.
But my thing is with Lane Kiffin, Lane knows what it takes to win in the SEC. He made 10 win seasons the standard at Ole Miss while he was there. He respects the culture, he respects the history, and really just I'm excited because the energy is back. Life is back in this program. There's new life for this program. And the biggest thing, one of the biggest things for me is just the culture is back. And I'll say this, the swagger is back. The swagger is back for
Yes.
Louisiana State University. And that is from a 50,000 feet view, the culture, the swagger, the standard, it is back, and it is back in full force with Lane Kiffin when I thought it went away under Brian Kelly because of all the wrong mistakes that he made while I was at this program. So that's kind of my 50,000 foot view of this program right now.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. The juice, the swag, all of it. It's all back. We got, I think that was one of the tweets I had sent out when we started closing in on some of the portal prospects that we were set out to get. And I was like, yeah, LSU. No, it was when we got Hassan Longstreet. You land Sam Levitt, and then we got Hassan Longstreet. And that's when I was like, you know what, LSU just got their swagger back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. By the way, David Billiot, just saw your comment. Thank you for being in the chat, brother. David Billiot, Paul Jarrett, Goose Sports, everybody in the chat. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is going to be a fun one. Let's get into it, AP. Let's get into it. What to expect in the spring, what to think about in the spring. I'll start offensively. We don't have to go through the staff in depth right now. Thoughts about the staff? It's pretty much outside of Eric Walford, the same staff Lane takes over from Ole Miss. And if you want to see what the staff did at Ole Miss finished with the number one offense in the SEC in 2024 and 2025 with Lane Kiffin, with Charlie Weiss Jr., and with most of the staff that joins Lane now that he's at LSU from Ole Miss. All the guys that he brought over. So the staff has a proven track record. Lane Kiffin has a proven track record of winning in a big way offensively.
I do want to highlight something real quick, because the one thing that we overlook with this staff is the cohesiveness. And while you said outside of Eric Walford, James Craig came over on the staff as well. And the thing with James Craig and his relationship with Lane Kiffin is that he's been with Lane Kiffin since Lane was the head coach of the Oakland Raiders. The only time James Craig wasn't an O-line coach was when he was the O-line coach at LSU.
You said James Craig has been with Lane Kiffin since
the Oakland Raiders through Tennessee. When Lane left in Tennessee, James Craig went with him. When Lane Kiffin got fired at USC, that's when James Craig came to LSU. Lane has put this staff together with years of development between them. He's overlapped with Charlie Weiss while he was at Alabama. He's overlapped with Jordan Sawyer since he came on with him at Ole Miss in 2023. Like, this staff does not have to learn how to coach with one another on offense or on defense. You only made one new addition on defense. That was Sterling Lucas.
Yeah.
This staff is just going out and coach.
I will say about the defensive staff before we get into the roster, you keep Blake Baker, you keep Corey Raymond, you keep Jake Olson, you keep, Kevin Peoples. Like, you keep all of those guys. Obviously, the defense in 2023 was atrocious. Like, it was awful. And I don't think enough people talk about the fact that in 2 years, Blake Baker and this defensive staff, turned that into a top 30 defense in the country in 2 years. That's what they did. And all of those guys are back. And the guy you brought, Sterling Lucas, let me remind you who he coached at South Carolina. He coached Kyle Kennard. He coached Dylan Stewart at South Carolina. What'd you say?
And Brian Thomas.
Yeah, he coached those guys at South Carolina. So Sterling Lucas, past couple of years at South Carolina, has a stellar track record with the guys he coached at South Carolina on the defensive line and in the edge room. All right, so we can talk about the staff. One more point. The buy-in with the I know I keep saying one more point before we get to this roster. The buy-in with this staff. The crazy thing is Charlie Weiss Jr., Jake Olson. Both guys were, the NFL was calling. The NFL was calling both of these guys, and they decided to stay. Blake Baker, his alma mater, wanted him to come coach at his alma mater, his first ever head coaching opportunity. He chose to stay. There's buy-in here. There is buy-in from the players, from the fan base, from the donors, from the staff that turned down jobs in the NFL. What'd you say?
And from the government.
Yeah, there's buy-in everywhere with this team. Everywhere with this team. All right, let's get into the roster. We'll start offensively. I got a few questions. Obviously, I'll get to the positions that I think there's really two positions offensively that I think are going to be the most competitive positions on this team. One of them we'll get to in a little bit. Obviously, quarterback, you have Sam Leavitt. At quarterback. Great 2 seasons at Arizona State, Big 12 title win in, 2024, CFP playoff appearance in 2024 as well. One of the best. He's got a great arm, but he's also really mobile as well. One of the best flat out dual threat quarterbacks in the country. Real shot though. Real great opportunity for Hassan Longstreet from USC and Landon Clark in the spring, because Sam Leavitt, individual drills, maybe some 7-on-7s, but no 11-on-11s for Sam Leavitt with that Lisfranc injury that he's still recovering from. So for Longstreet and for Elon University's Landon Clark, big opportunities here. You're thinking about Longstreet in 2027, possibly being the guy to step up and replace Leavitt to start in 2027. That's what you're thinking about. You also have Peyton Houston coming over, of course, from Evangel. The Evangel commit, you have him. You can kind of give your thoughts a little bit on this quarterback room. My question for the quarterback room is, I feel like, Landon Clark, because the top two are Leavitt and Longstreet, but Landon Clark, how much of a shot does he have here? Because I think he's got a real shot. He's definitely got a real shot.
Yeah.
Kid put up 3,000 yards, 3,000 total offensive yards in 2025 at Elon, 2,300 passing, 600 rushing. And I think about what Charlie Weiss Jr. and Lane Kiffin did with a D2 quarterback in Trinidad Chambliss, which I'm not trying to compare Landon Clark to Trinidad Chambliss. That's unfair. Chambliss was one of the best quarterbacks in America in 2025. But Landon Clark has a huge opportunity along with Hassan Longstreet in the spring.
Where is Ferris State University at, Justin?
Ferris State University?
Mm-hmm. It's in Rapids, Michigan. That's my point.
I would not have gotten that.
Nobody knew where that was. And even still to this point, nobody even cares to go look it up. You got to be a sycophant like myself to go Google where Ferris State University is. But it's in Rapids, Michigan. Does Landon Clark have a chance? You better believe he does. He absolutely has it. He has a huge chance. The opportunity for Landon Clark is all in his face. Lane Kiffin doesn't care about how much you make. He cares about who's going to run the offense, who's going to do their job at the position, and who's going to take care of the ball. Landon Clark gets an opportunity to come into Baton Rouge, and he knows what the expectation is. They told him, they view me as the next possibility to be a Trinidad Chambliss. Trinidad had to come in, work his way up, and then, mind you, Trinidad came in late. He came in after the spring. Had to work his way through the depth chart, get comfortable in the offense, and then he eventually beat the incumbent, not the returner, but the guy slated to be the heir apparent to Jackson Dart and Austin Simmons. Beat him out. Beat him out so bad to where now Austin Simmons is wearing black and gold for the Mizzou Tigers. So Landon Clark has everything in front of him. Is it an uphill battle? Yes. Why? Hassan Longstreet has everything in front of him too. Lane Kiffin was heavily recruiting Hassan Longstreet to Ole Miss. The relationship has been there. Husan Longstreet also has family ties to the state of Louisiana. Husan Longstreet took one visit. Now it's to LSU. There's a reason why Husan Longstreet wants to be here. And does that mean that he even has an opportunity to come in and beat out Sam Levitt? Yes. He's going to make it very challenging for Sam to remain as that starter for Clemson. And it doesn't mean that even after Clemson, if Sam's the starter, that it's locked down. Like, you can get replaced. The best guy will play, plain and simple. I mean, the year Jackson Dart came, the year after Jackson Dart's first season as a starter, Lane Kiffin did everything possible to try to replace him. He brought in a former starting quarterback from the Big Ten. He brought in an up-and-coming former five-star quarterback in Walker Howard, and Jackson Dart had to earn his keep. Nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah. All right. The two positions, tight end, obviously, we're excited about Trades Green, obviously, his potential in Lane Kiffin's offense. But the two positions I want to get to, and then I will ask you a question about running back, because there's a guy that I heard you talk about a couple weeks ago that I kind of want to ask you about in the running back room. But the two most competitive positions, position battles going into spring are at receiver and on the offensive line. This receiver room is loaded with the talent that you have. There's a lot here, AP. The guy I like the most right now, I really like Jace Brown from KSU. I really like Jace Brown. Put like 2,000 yards or almost 2,000 yards up in 3 seasons at Kansas State. He had highs of like, he's a speedy guy. He's got great hands. He's great out in space. He's elusive. He had highs of like play highs of 44 yards, 48 yards, 56 yards, and 78 yards while I was at KSU. Big play threat. You've also got some, Trey Wilson, Eugene Wilson from Florida, who has over 100 catches in his career at Florida. Winston Watkins, Winnie Watkins probably has the best or one of the best shots because he actually knows this system. So he has an advantage coming over from Ole Miss. Then you got some good size in there with Jackson Harris from Hawaii. Jackson Harris had 12 touchdowns last year in 2025. You don't just luck in the 12 touchdowns. And he had 19.7 yards per reception, which was like second in the country for any player who had over 40 receptions on a season. And then Trey Brown from Old Dominion averaged 20 yards per reception at Old Dominion in 2025. You got size with Jackson Harris. Malik Elzy is also a guy with size. Philip Wright returns as well. You got speed with Jace Brown, Trey Brown, all of these guys, like Eugene Wilson, like all of these guys. Philip Wright is your only returner. The question I have here is how much of a shot, like Corey Barber. Like, that's my question, is Corey Barber, because I think Corey Barber is immensely talented, obviously, but this receiver room is loaded with veteran experience. And so Corey Barber getting a chance, to be with this team and to really step up in his freshman year. Obviously, he has a chance. Obviously, you see a ton of talent in him. But the point is, this receiver room is loaded. So I want to get your kind of thoughts on there. And then I guess my question for the receiver room is, if you had to highlight one guy, if I put you on the spot, who would that guy be?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, like, it's hard to highlight just one guy because the receiver position for Lane Kiffin does many different things. You have your guy who's going to be your contested catch getter. You have your yards after catch receiver. You have your route runner. You have your speed guy. You need guys to come in to fill specific roles, and that's why this wide receiver room is so good, because it's well-rounded through multiple different players. You don't just have just one guy to fill each category. You have multiple guys who can fill a category. So the receiver that I'm most excited to see put on purple and gold is obviously Jace Brown. Look at what he did at Kansas State. All right, he was electric, playmaker, dominant, and didn't really have a quarterback to throw the ball to. Another guy is Jackson Harris from out of Hawaii. His story coming from college in California, not really getting too many opportunities, didn't really commit himself to playing football until later in his high school career, and then exploded onto the scene in Hawaii of all places. And now he comes over to Baton Rouge with a bunch of experience playing over there and moving into a new state, new area, just to play ball because of what LSU has done. Winnie Watkins, of course, you want to see him take another step in Lane Kiffin's offense. But when there's a receiver on this roster, a lot of people talked about when we signed him, but we are forgetting about right now, and that's Roman Mothershed. Roman Mothershed is 6'5", 208 pounds.
He's got good size, that's for sure.
You talk about a red zone threat. You pair him and Trey'Daz Green on the field together, it's a mismatch nightmare. Who are you going to double team? And then you can round out the position group with so many other guys. So to answer your question, long-winded answer, I'm sorry about that. Jace Brown is the guy I am most excited about, just because of what he's done. But it's so many. It's how do you choose one? It's like Baskin Robbins of wide receiver.
Yeah.
How do you just choose one flavor?
Yeah. The other position group that is going to be the most contested in the spring and the fall, obviously, is the offensive line. Your offensive line was bad in 2025. It was really, really bad in 2025 when you look at the numbers, when you look at everything with this team in 2025. You have a revamped O-line. You bring over double-digit or like 9 or 10 offensive line transfers. I think you have two positions filled. You get Braylon Moore back at center. He's going to play your starting center. Jordan Seaton is going to be your everyday left tackle. He should be a first-round pick, I would think, in 2027 with all of his talent. But then you have a bunch of guys in this room to fill the guard spots. I think the two positions that are filled are center and left tackle. That's what I think. I think Aluba has a really good chance of getting one of the guard spots because of his experience being a 2-year starter at Maryland, started 23 consecutive games at right guard at Maryland. He's played over 1,500 college snaps in his career. So I would favor him at guard, at one of the guard spots, Aluba. Then you have, Devin Harper come over from Ole Miss. Sean Tompkins, who was a starter at Baylor. Will Satterwhite, Darren Stray. You have some, guys at the FCS and D2 level. Jacoby Jones, Jaquan Sprinkle. And then at right tackle, really one of the questions I want to ask you, I think one of the burning questions for this offensive line regards Weston Davis. I think that's one of the burning questions regarding Weston Davis. What kind of jump can he take in the offseason? Because he started 10 games for you in 2025. He played over 500 snaps. He played a lot in 2025. It wasn't good, though. It wasn't really good, though. He struggled a lot as a redshirt freshman in his first year starting in 2025. Weston Davis did. Now, do I think he has potential to develop and to be a solid, everyday starter for you? Absolutely. He has all the time. He has plenty of talent. But I think Weston Davis, what kind of jump can he make in the offseason? So I think, you got Seaton and you got Moore. Those are the two spots you got, and I favor Ba to nab one of the guard spots. But really, there's going to be a ton of competition here throughout spring and into the fall. There's going to be a ton of competition because you bring in double-digit transfers. There's a lot here. I think the guy I'm looking at the most here is Weston Davis, and what kind of jump can he take in the offseason. But those are kind of my things with the O-line.
How good is Will Campbell and Emory Jones? Are they good?
Yeah.
They're playing in NFL, right? They're
absolutely,
good, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So your offensive line, honestly, outside of those two players, have been bad since Brian Kelly's been here. It didn't just start in 2025. You haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher from the running back position since Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Let me say that again, LSU fans. Your LSU Fighting Tigers who play football on the gridiron at Tiger Stadium with 5-yard charted lines has not had a running back run for over 1,000 yards in a single season since Clyde Edwards-Helaire left Baton Rouge.
Mhm.
That's terrible. We had a quarterback in Jaden Daniels who covered up a lot of the rushing inefficiencies that the offense that Brian Kelly had. He made up a lot of that with his athleticism, his speed, his ability to make proper read options. He was a 1,000-yard rusher from a quarterback position.
Mhm.
Terrible. Your offensive line, he saved a lot of sacks. Nussmeier, in his first year as a starter, when he was healthy, was able to get the ball off quickly, make proper reads, and save a lot of sacks. Your offensive line has been bad since Brian Kelly has been here, and even going back a little bit further than that. I mean, you roll out in game one, you had Garrett Dellinger playing center, and it took a couple of bad snaps. We were getting practice reports then. Garrett Dellinger was struggling with bad snaps in practice and spring practice, but you still rolled out with him in week one of of Florida State, for him to continue to have bad snaps that affected that game. It wasn't until 2 weeks in that you switched over to Charles Turner, who then became your starting center for 2 years. How do you not know that? That's an indictment on that. So, do I think that Weston Davis can take a step forward? Yes. How much of a step forward? I can't see the future, but I fully expect a guy who started 10 games, played over 500 snaps under a coach like Eric Wolford, who coached under Nick Saban at Alabama, and James Craig, who produced an offensive line that won the Joe Moore Award in 2019, to take a step forward. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And like you said, the competition at the offensive line position is going to be heavy. And I'm here for it, because if you want any group to grind, you want your offensive linemen to be grinding. You want them to be the grinders, because they're the ones they're the people movers. They're the ones who make the entire car go. Without them, you don't go anywhere. We saw that happen last year in 2025 when you couldn't score over 25 points against any FBS opponent.
All right. I want to ask you one question about the running back room, get to defense real quick, and then get you out of here. I don't want to keep you too long.
No,
all right. So, running back room, a thing with Lane Kiffin that I've always said with the running back room, and when you think about the Lane Kiffin offense, you think about tempo, you think about explosiveness, you think about explosive plays. The stat that I brought up, and if you've been listening to my LSU football content in January, really before baseball season started, the stat I always brought up is that for 6 years at Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's rushing offenses at Ole Miss never finished below the top 6 in the SEC. He always had a top 6 rushing offense in the SEC when he was at Ole Miss for 6 straight seasons. Your running game outside of Jaden Daniels is really, really bad under Brian Kelly. You could not run the ball. You could not run the ball. Obviously, Harlan Berry and Caden Durham's your 1-2 punch. You love Harlan Berry. I love Harlan Berry's potential in this offense, especially in the passing game. Like using Harlan Berry in the passing game, what Charlie Weiss Jr. and Lane Kiffin can do with a guy like him. You bring in some other guys like, Rod Gainey, Ray Guillory, like Stacey Gage from UCF. Like you bring in guys like that. But I wanted to, because I heard you talk about this on your show a few weeks ago. And a guy you talked about, because it's obviously Harlan Berry 1, Caden Durham 2. But then at 3, Dylan Jones from Wisconsin. Dylan Jones from Wisconsin, freshman out of Wisconsin last year, led them, in total rushing yards for the season, had a pretty good season. Not a great Wisconsin team by any means, a pretty bad team when you look at it. But I heard you talk about Dylan Jones a few weeks ago, a guy I know you're high on, and that a lot of people are high on, to be that third guy, potentially, maybe even push, the top 2 a little bit. With his ability and what he's able to do. So kind of obviously you got Barry and you got Durham, but I wanted to get your kind of thoughts on Dylan Jones, because I know that's a guy you've talked about a lot.
Look, I want to preface this for everyone. Like, when we look at this LSU running back room, do not expect one of these guys to end up being like Keywan Lacey. Keywan Lacey is built different. Quinshon Judkins, don't expect that. Like, that's just, those are different calibers, different styles of running backs. But if you had to pick a guy who could fill that power style of running, it's Dylan Jones. Dylan Jones led Wisconsin with rushing in rushing categories last year, and he didn't finish the season because he had a turf toe injury. Dylan Jones comes in at 5'11", 211 pounds. He is well put together. You had an issue with running between the tackles, no matter who the running back was. He solves that problem. And it gives you diversity in the offense because now you can mix in looks. You can line up Hollenberry in the slot. You can play around with him. He can what most teams would treat as a 12 personnel, with 21 personnel with 2 running backs and 1 tight end. You can split that out and have that running back matched up on a linebacker and Hollenberry and beat them over the top. Right? It does so much because of his impact that he's going to have on this offense. I am extremely high on Dylan Jones because he's proven it. He played against the Ohio States, the Michigans, the USCs, the Penn States, and he was able to produce against that level. So there's no doubt in my mind that his ability shouldn't transfer over to the SEC. We're not talking about a running back that was running at Memphis or coming up from Southern. Like he was playing against future pros as well in the Big Ten. So.
Yeah. Excited about the offense defensively. You got most of your staff back. Defensively. A lot of continuity there. You talked about the continuity on the offensive staff with a lot of guys that Lane Kiffin has coached with before. I think in the secondary, you have obviously at corner DJ Pickett and PJ Woodland. Like you're really excited about those guys. DJ Pickett was, the National Defensive Freshman of the Year, according to, I think according to On3, he was the National Defensive Freshman of the Year when you look at it. And he had a great freshman season, 5-star, a guy that you're looking at as one of the next, the next great DB in a line that is DBU. PJ Woodland, you saw so much development game over game, so much progression game over game from PJ Woodland when you look at it. So that's kind of what you look at when you're looking at corner. Safety is a really deep group because it goes 4 guys that I think are all going to play, and all going to see time and be real contributors on this team with Tamarcus Cooley, Deshaun Spears, Deshaun Spears. Then you have, I really like Ty Benefield. I really, really like Ty Benefield and what he did at Boise State. And then Fahim Delane's a guy who is a violent, physical, defensive player coming off of his freshman year at Ohio State, the younger brother of Mansour Delane. I think DB, obviously, at cornerback, you're looking DJ Pickett, PJ Woodland. But it goes, those 4 guys with Spears, Cooley, Benefield, and Delane. Your safety room, one of those guys is going to slide to the star position. Your safety room with those 4 guys is looking really strong to me.
Oh, no, absolutely. And just to let people, I want everybody to understand we're going into spring, so not everybody is fully available in the spring yet. Like Lamar Brown's not going to be participating in spring. U-High, shockingly, does not allow players to graduate early so they can enroll early at LSU. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking for reports and updates on Lamar Brown, he will not be enrolled until the summer.
Yeah, Lamar Brown. Richard Anderson will be.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to. Like, I got to watch. My son played at Edna Carr. My son won a state championship with Edna Carr in 2024. I got to watch Richard Anderson practice for 2 years, and I've never seen a guy of his size have feet so sweet. The kid is a point guard playing defensive tackle. It is absolutely insane the things that he is able to do on a football field. And I absolutely expect him to contribute early. Also, I expect Fahim Delane to be pushing for a lot of playing time. If Tamarcus Cooley is going to be moving inside the nickel or playing safety, whatever role that they have, Fahim Delane will be on his heels.
Mhm.
I expect Ty Benefield to be an absolute dog. Dog.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Randy. I appreciate you for supporting Coach Bryce. Coach Bryce is an amazing man. Really is. He is absolutely a dog. And I mean, when I say a dog, he's going to be a difference maker. And I cannot wait to see him and Deshaun Spears share the field together. You are assembling what has the potential to be a no-fly zone at LSU. Think of the days of Eric Reed and the Honey Badger, right? With Mo Claiborne on the outside. And I'm not saying anybody's going to be the level of the Honey Badger, but think of how stout those defenses were, how hard it was, how stressful it was to move the ball against those defenses. That is what we should expect to see out of this LSU defense coming up, because what was the one area that we were lacking last year? We couldn't generate pass rush without blitzing. Well, you addressed that need in a big way.
Go
ahead.
Let's go to that though. Like I want to touch on that before we get out of here. Like the defensive end, like you bring in Prince Uman-Mielen, who had 9 sacks at Ole Miss last year, the Ole Miss sack leader. And then on the other side, Uman-Mielen is going to be one of your starting defensive ends. On the other side, it's a battle between Jordan Ross and Gabe Relaford. It's a battle between those two. Jordan Ross, a former 5-star, spent 2 seasons at Tennessee, immensely talented, maybe didn't produce as much as he wanted to while he played for Tennessee, but a former 5-star with a lot of physical traits. Gabe Relaford, a guy the staff was really high on going into 2025. Of course, the season is cut short, unfortunately, due to injury. Then you bring in some other guys in the defensive end room. You Lamar Brown, like Lamar Brown. I know he's not going to play in the spring. He's not going to play in the spring, but the number 1 overall athlete in the country, Lamar Brown, coming over from U High, like he's going to be a big difference maker. Now, freshman year, it'll be interesting to see. And 3 5-stars you got Corey Barber on offense, and then Lamar Brown and Richard Anderson on the defensive line. How big of a role do those guys all carve out for themselves as true freshmen? That's
Corey
the big
Barber,
question.
I don't expect that much out of, just because of how loaded the wide receiver room is.
I would agree with that.
But the other two, they're gonna have an impact. They're gonna have an impact, and I know a lot of people are expecting Lamar Brown to be to play on the inside. I wouldn't be shocked if you see him playing edge, because he's that. I got to watch this kid up close in the playoffs this past season, and I got to watch him in the Superdome against Rummel. And brother, I don't think there's anybody on the planet who could block him right now. Like maybe somebody in the pros, and this is an 18-year-old kid. Like he just has a I'm not gonna lose mentality, and that's just it's a separating factor. Like it's ridiculous what he can do, and I'm so glad that he's at LSU. But like you said, Prince Uman-Mielen, Jordan Ross, like you saw a huge issue. Your lack of pass rush within the front 4 was laughable.
That was the biggest issue defensively last year.
And you still produced a top 30 defense.
Yeah.
Your leading sack getter was an off-ball linebacker at 5 sacks. Like, the guy you brought in from Prince Uman-Mielen almost doubled that by himself. And you did that. You bring him in, and you also hurt a rival within the conference. So it's a huge swing both directions. So I'm absolutely looking forward to what this pass rush is going to be and how well-rounded it makes this defense. It's exciting.
And then you have, last thing before we get out of here, D tackle, of course. Just want to highlight this. Want to see the next stage in the growth and development of Dominic McKinley. Like, that's something you want to see at D tackle in the next stage of growth and development. There, obviously, you bring in 2 guys, Malik Blockman from Auburn and then Steph Highland Green over from Clemson at D tackle as well. And then a linebacker, At linebacker, it's interesting because you have, a lot of young guys there, but your top three are, of course, Whit Weeks coming back. Season gets cut short because of injury in 2025, but he's been a dog during his time at LSU. 2024, the phenomenal, season that he had in 2024, defensive captain, the heart and soul of this defense. And then TJ Daugherty, coming over from Ole Miss, led the SEC in tackles in 2025. And who was there right behind him in the top three in the SEC in tackles? That was Devon Keys. So, linebacker room, you have plenty of proven production at the linebacker level with your top three in Weeks, Daugherty, and Keys. And then again, a D tackle, you want to see the next step in the growth and development of Dominic McKinley. And then you also have guys like Blockton and Green coming over from Power 4 schools that are going to be interesting as well. So that's kind of last two positions I wanted to touch on.
No, absolutely. And I want to highlight something too, especially like with on the injury front. Like getting Whit Weeks back healthy is like another portal addition, because it's a guy who you were missing badly. Like his presence being on that defense, on that field was too big to quantify. You can't find the words to describe it. And then you add back a guy like Gabe Relaford. How is his addition along with Prince Mamiellan going to impact the interior defensive line?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to when your edges. I played defensive line. My son plays defensive line. I'm good friends with Marlon Favorite and Drake Nevis. The impact of having really good defensive edge rushers frees up your interior to make an impact, because it's easier to double down inside. And you talk about the growth and development. I want to see the growth and development in a Dame Shanklin. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to see his next step, because he was a guy as a redshirt freshman. He was coming back as a redshirt freshman to take that next step. And he has valuable in-game experience and was making plays. So I'm truly excited to see 17 the next step he has. And there are a couple guys on the who didn't get a lot of looks last year, like a Kalash Cobbins. I want to see Jalen Brown, who I want to see, who we brought over from South Carolina. Trenton Henderson, who may be able to make an impact. I mean, former a high 4-star, almost 5-star defensive end, who might be able to find his way into that rotation. And then don't forget the other defensive tackle that we brought in as a true freshman,
Deuce Gerald's.
Deuce Gerald's is going to play too.
Mm-hmm.
So your defensive line rotation is going to, as long as, please God, let them remain healthy. If that rotation can remain healthy, it's going to be the difference maker, and it's going to free up the rest of the defense. And, oh, my God, I cannot wait to see it all come into fruition. If we thought that last year's defense was great, this year's defense is about to take a step forward. The expectation should be top 30. I would argue that we had the potential to be one of the best defenses within the conference, hands down.
Yes, I absolutely agree. Again, spring practice, spring football begins tomorrow, baby. So pumped for it. The top two positions that are going to see the most competition. You are loaded at receiver, and you got a lot to get through on the O-line. You got a lot of pieces there. You need to test it. You're going to see a lot of competition over the next couple months. A receiver and O-line. Big opportunities for Hassan Longstreet and Landon Clark, with Sam Levitt not being able to compete in 11-on-11s in the spring. Opportunities for those guys to develop behind them. So excited that spring football is here. Spring practice is here. Going to be, I've been saying it, folks, for months. This is going to be the most hyped up season possibly going into September 2026 later this year. Might be possibly the most hyped up season that we've ever seen at LSU football in Lane Kiffin's first year. So much energy, so much hype, so much specialness around this program right now. Can't wait for them to kick off spring practice tomorrow. I want to thank you, my friend AP. Thank you, my friend AP. Again, go tune in. Go subscribe to Timeouts and Tangents. If you're not subscribed to it already, what are you doing? You need to go tune in. He does great work all the time, along with a lot of other people. David Billiot, Zach Nunez with Go Deep Dive, Paul Jarrett with Walk It Off. Paul's got a show at 6. So in 30 minutes, I believe, 30 minutes, tune in to Paul Jarrett's show, Walk It Off. Can't wait to tune in to that. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for all of you folks being in the comments. So ready for LSU football again. Spring practice beginning tomorrow. I will not be live tomorrow. I will be live next. My plan is to be live on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. We'll recap. We'll talk LSU baseball. We'll talk LSU baseball at 4 o'clock on Wednesday, even though it's not going to be the nicest, we led off the weekend. We led off on Monday with a positive content.
Yes.
Wednesday is where we
got to get over
super negative. Right. I tried to get us over the hump today and not start with the negative content.
Let me sign off by saying this, Justin. Keep this in mind, guys. Iron sharpens iron. This team is going to come out. They're going to compete. You may not get the full practice access from the media like we had in years past with Brian Kelly. Lane Kiffin really keeps things close. So don't expect to hear a lot of news, a lot of breaking stories. But understand that there's a lot of development that's going to take place. Your offensive line is what's going to need the most growth. And they're going to be in competition with a very high-level, talented defensive line group. Iron sharpens iron. I expect the trenches to take leaps forward because of this.
That's such a good point. Thank you, folks. Thank you, AP. Thank you, folks in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Monday edition of the Babin on the Bayou show. Again, I plan to go live. My next time going live, hump day, this Wednesday, 4 o'clock. We're going live. We'll break down Oklahoma. We'll talk about the Louisiana Tech game that takes place tomorrow night. Can't do a show tomorrow. Had some stuff pop up today that I'm going to have to take care of tomorrow afternoon. Just life stuff I got to deal with. Yeah. Nothing serious. It's nothing serious or anything. I just got some stuff to take care of tomorrow. So I'll see y'all back on Wednesday. Thank you, folks, for being in the comments. Thank you, AP. As always, remember, God bless. Go Tigers. Have a great one. Thank you, folks. Babin on the Bayou signing off with my guy, AP, from Timeouts and Tangents.